karate chops were the same thing. I thought they were both pork chops. And because my grandmother thought it was cute, and because they were my favorite, she let me keep doing it. Not really a big deal. Until one day, before I realized fat kids are not designed to climb trees, I fell out of a tree and bruised the right side of my body. News of this silly little story quickly spread through the school, and I earned my first nickname, Pork Chop. To this day, I hate pork chops. I'm not the only kid who grew up this way, surrounded by the rhyme about sticks and stones, as if broken bones hurt more than the names we got called. And we got called them all, so we grew up believing no one would ever fall in love with us. We'd be lonely forever. We'd never meet someone to make us feel like the sun was something they built for us in their tool shed. So broken heartstrings fled the blues as we tried to empty ourselves. Don't tell me that hurts less than a broken bone, that an ingrown life is something surgeons can cut away, that there's no way for it to metastasize. It does. She was 8, our first day of grade 3, when she got called ugly. We both got moved to the back of the class so we would stop getting bombarded by spitballs. But the school halls were a battleground where we found ourselves outnumbered day after wretched day. We stayed inside for recess because outside was worse. Outside we'd have to rehearse running away or learn to stay still like statues, giving no clues that we were there. In grade 5, they taped a sign to her desk that read, "Beware of dog." To this day, despite a loving husband, she doesn't think she's beautiful because of a birthmark that takes up a little less than half of her face. Kids used to say, she looks like a wrong answer that someone tried to erase but couldn't quite get the job done. And they'll never understand that she's raising 2 kids whose definition of beauty begins with the word mom. Because they see her heart before they see her skin. And because she's only ever always been amazing. He was a broken branch, grafted onto a different family tree. Adopted, but not because his parents opted for a different destiny. He was 3 when he became a mixed drink of 1 part left alone and 2 parts tragedy. Started therapy in 8th grade, had a personality made up of tests and pills, lived like the uphills were mountains and the downhills were cliffs, 4/5 suicidal, a tidal wave of antidepressants, and an adolescence of being called Popper. 1 part because of the pills, and 99 parts because of the cruelty. He tried to kill himself in grade 10 when a kid who could still go home to mom and dad had the audacity to tell him, "Get over it." As if depression is something that can be remedied by any of the contents found in a first aid kit. To this day, he is a stick of TNT, lit from both ends, can describe to you in detail the way the sky bends in the moments before it's about to fall. And despite an army of friends who all call him an inspiration, he remains a conversation piece between people who can't seem to understand. Sometimes being drug-free has less to do with addiction and more to do with sanity. We're not the only kids who grow up this way. It seems every school has an arsenal of names being updated every year. And if a kid breaks in a school and no one around chooses to hear, do they make a sound? Or are they just background noise to some soundtrack stuck on repeat when people say things like, kids can be cruel? Every school was a big top circus tent. And the pecking order went from acrobats to lion tamers, clowns to carnies. All of these were miles ahead of who we were. We were freaks. Lobster claw boys and bearded ladies. Oddities, juggling depression and loneliness, playing solitaire spin the bottle, trying to kiss the wounded parts of ourselves and heal. But at night, while others slept, we kept walking the tightrope. It was practice, and yeah, some of us fell. But I want to tell them, all this shit is just debris, left over from when we finally decided to smash all the things that we thought we used to be. And if you can't see anything beautiful about yourself, get a better mirror. Look a little closer. Stare a little longer. Because there's something inside of you that made you keep going, despite all the people who told you to quit. You built a cast around your broken heart, and you signed it yourself, and you signed it, they were wrong. Because maybe you weren't part of a group, or a clique. Maybe you got picked last for basketball, or everything. Maybe you brought bruises and broken teeth to show and tell but never told, because how can you hold your ground when everyone around you wants to bury you beneath it? You have to believe that they were wrong. They have to be wrong. Why else would we still be here? We grew up learning to cheer on the underdog because we see ourselves in them. We stem from a root planted in the belief that we are not what we were called. We are not abandoned cars, stalled out, sitting empty on some highway. And if in some way we are, don't worry. We just got out to walk and get gas. We are graduating members from the class of "We made it," not the faded echoes of voices crying out, "Names will never hurt me." Of course they did. But our lives will only ever always continue to be a balancing act that has less to do with pain, but more to do with beauty.